Weekend is over, and Adam Pelech did a great job of representing the Islanders. We'll talk about his All-Star Weekend and what it meant for him. Plus, we will have a look at the second half of the season. We have a question from our listener mailbag that deals with what the Islanders should be doing now that the All-Star break is over. We've got that, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, and a lot more coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Hope everybody had a great weekend and enjoyed the All-Star game. I know Metropolitan Division getting the job done and winning the whole thing. We'll talk about that. Adam Pelech representing the Islanders, and we'll talk about his first All-Star Weekend experience on today's show. We also will take a look at where the Islanders should be what they should be doing and what their object should be, in the second half of the season. And, of course, we will have our Islanders birthday of the day and a whole lot more. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind right now, you have a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like us to talk about, feel free to email the show. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest news, notes, and happenings concerning your New York Islanders. And I am also live tweeting during every Islanders home and road game. And yeah, that is going to include the West Coast swing coming up as the Islanders resume action on Wednesday on the west coast of Canada. There, a game against Vancouver, and I will be live tweeting during that game. So check it out. Instant insight and analysis, and always great to talk to Islanders fans. Let's get busy with this past weekend. And the Islanders basically off, as was the rest of the league, the All-Star game taking place in Las Vegas. And well, first, the whole weekend. It wasn't just the games. And Adam Pelech out there doing his thing. He was in the hardest shot competition and ended up doing very well. Second place in that competition, behind only Victor Hedman of the defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. 102.2 miles per hour for Adam Pelech. Pretty impressive for a guy who is a defenseman now. If only he could actually, accurately get that puck on net consistently. Look, I'm not expecting Adam Pelech to become a 10, 15, 20 goal scorer. But, 7 or 8 would be nice. He also, went on the breakaway situation. I got a nice backhand off and again, showed a little bit of his talent, obviously, that we don't always necessarily get to see during the course of the regular season. Then you get to the All-Star games on Saturday, the 3-on-3 tournament. First round, Metropolitan Division goes up against the Pacific, and in the 3-on-3, you get a 6-4 win for the Metropolitan Division. Then in the final game, a showdown against the Central Division, and again, it was the Metropolitan Division with a 5-3 victory in that one. And basically 1 assist for Adam Pelech in the 2 games total, but the Metro Division winning it And here's what Pelech had to say. It was pretty cool. Obviously, a lot of fun, both games, though it got a little more intense as the games went along, especially at the end there. But it was a blast and a great group of guys and fun to be a part of the whole experience. And it was, kind of interesting because who is Adam Pelech going up against? Or well, it's 3-on-3. So Pelech is a defensive defenseman. His job primarily is to slow guys down, and yet 3-on-3, lots of open ice. So who do they team him up with most of the time he's out there? They go with Chris Kreider of the Rangers and Jack Hughes of the Devils. And, here's what Pelech had to say about that. It's always weird because we play against these guys all the time, but coming here and being their teammates, it's a lot of fun. Everybody here are great players, and they are fun guys to play with. Now, the one assist he made was a backhander, and it ended up setting up the goal. And, here's what Claude Giroux, who won the MVP, said about Pelech. He's our best defensive player. That's what he does. He shuts down guys. We needed him out there, and they kept him out there really late in that final game because, realistically, that's what he does, as Claude Giroux said. So overall, great experience, and you got to love it when you have a player who's out there at an All-Star game for the first time, representing his team, and just having a good time. And that's really what All-Star Weekend is about. All-Star games are tricky things. You go back to, let's say, before the year 2000, and All-Star games were still a great chance to see players, the best players in the game, on the ice together. And, back in those days, depending on what cable package you had, you didn't always get a chance to see all of the players from other teams. If you were an Islander fan, for example, how often did you see players from San Jose or Colorado or St. Louis, maybe once a year? So you get to the All-Star game, and to see all of the most talented players on the ice together, that was always something that was exciting and unique. Look, the 3-on-3 tournament, I like it. It spices things up a bit. But, is it real hockey? No. All-Star games, hockey and football, I think, more than the other two sports of basketball and baseball. Baseball, to me, the All-Star game is the most like the regular real thing. Basketball, it's a little more like playground basketball, but at least, it has the flow of a game, even if it's not as physical. But hockey, it's more like a bunch of kids playing shinny out there, 3-on-3, lots of room, nobody's checking, defense, goaltending kind of minimal. So you sort of have to accept it for what it is. And that's just a fun time to celebrate some of the more talented players in the game and just enjoy yourself. Adam Pelech clearly did, and that was a good thing. It helps that the Metropolitan Division ends up winning, and, a splendid time was had by all. So great to see, and I think that, for the Islanders and Adam Pelech, all good. But now, when we come back, we'll get back to business for the Islanders. Where do they go from here? We have a listener email that asked that very question. We'll get to that, our Islanders birthday of the day, and a lot more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. This is the time of year I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolution, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Built Puffs? If not, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat. And they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors. Yummy cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good, they are going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate. Yes, Puffs included. They're low-calorie, high-protein, and you can replace candy bars with these. They are better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories, but Built Bar has a lot less. They're low-calorie, high-protein, and high in fiber. Go to Built.com and scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Compare that to a candy bar, 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So, why not have the Built Bar? Mint brownie, coconut almond, and new for this month, white chocolate cookies and cream. They are all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. If they think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. It'll be delicious, and it will be good for you. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Time now for our listener question. This one is from Brandon in Connecticut. Longtime listener, first-time emailer. My friend Max sent you a great email the other day, and it inspired me to do the same. I'm from Trumbull, Connecticut. My dad grew up a longtime Isles fan from Mineola. Here's my question. If you are Lou Lamoriello, what would you be doing right now? Are you trying to make a playoff push? What moves would you make to try to get more points? If you were going to be more of a seller, which unfortunately seems to be where they're heading, what moves are you making? Are you letting the youth get more playing time? I know that's more of a Trotz call, but still, I would love to hear where your head is at with the state of the season. Thanks again, and keep up the good work. Brandon, thank you so much for the email. I do appreciate it. Let's get right to it. Right now, I'm not ready to give up on this season yet, but I'm getting very close to that point. And if I'm Lou Lamoriello, I say, okay, we're going on this West Coast 4-game swing. I need at least 5 or 6 points minimum to think that we still have a chance to get back into this playoff hunt. And realistically, I would say the next 2 weeks are going to determine whether or not you try to hold on and add something, or whether or not you trade players away. If you're going to add, I'm still looking at a puck-moving defenseman to complement Noah Dobson. I still think they're not trusting Robin Salo just yet, and that next year he'll be in a better position to get significant ice time. So I think you need that puck-moving defenseman, and you need more goal scoring. And I think in both instances, you're probably looking more at a rental player than you are someone who's going to be part of the team long-term. But we'll see what ends up happening with that, because, you don't want to give up all of your assets, to say the least. It's a tough call. You have your first-round pick for this year, but overall, the Islanders need to make sure that they don't give away too much, because the odds, like we said on Friday's show, of them making the playoffs as of right now are about 10%. And you don't want to lose that, to say the least. You don't want to give up your future for a 10% chance and make it a 18% chance or a 15% chance by making a big trade. So I think you're kind of limited, even though you do have some cap space. Now, if we get to the point that, you realize the playoffs are not in the cards this year, and we're getting there. We are getting closer to that point. But if you cross that, point of no return for that, to me, you do start playing Robin Salo more often. You get Kiefer Bellows and Oliver Wahlstrom more minutes. And some of the guys you trade away, if they're willing, and some of them may have, no movement clauses or not wanting to go, but realistically, can another team use a Zach Parise for the playoffs? Yeah, guy who could help with leadership, with the experience he has. He would love to win a cup. That's one of the reasons he came to the island. Could you get a third round pick for Zach Parise? Probably. Would somebody want to add Zdeno Chara? Again, a former Stanley Cup winning captain, a player who is really experienced and has been through the wars, who can still get the job done defensively more often than not, and who knows how to lift his team up. I mean, look, we all saw Zdeno Chara struggle earlier in the season as he adjusted to the Islanders system, as he adjusted to his new teammates. But lately, we have seen him play better defensively. We have seen him stick up for his teammates and provide some leadership for this team. So, could they get something for Zdeno Chara? Yes. If they're lucky enough, maybe Kyle Palmieri, although I don't think anyone would necessarily touch his contract, but maybe you could free up some cap space. There are going to be people who say, yeah, let's deal Josh Bailey. I don't know what the market is for Bales at this point, and I'm not so sure you want to trade Josh Bailey at this juncture. But you know what? You just say this: if you bowl me over with an offer, I'll consider it. So, there are a lot of options out there on the table. And to me, what you do is, even if you can't trade some of those veterans, you do give the younger guys some more ice time. I put Kiefer Bellows in the game almost every game and let him learn. I give Oliver Wahlstrom top 6 minutes and let him adjust and learn how to play with some of those top 6 forwards. I get Robin Salo in the game all the time and let him play more minutes, because you know what? You still have those teachable moments, but what difference does it make if you're not making the playoffs? Those, young, inexperienced mistakes you learn by doing, and you learn by getting, you make those mistakes, you watch them on film, you get instruction from your teammates, you get instructions from your coach, and you go on from there. So I would do that. There may even be a player or two down in Bridgeport who I could bring up, or if you don't get draft picks for some of the veterans you try to trade away, maybe you get younger prospects for them, guys who can come in, step into the lineup, whether it's at Bridgeport or even part of the year, bring them up if they're ready to the big club and see what they could do. I think you do start that transition once you cross that point of no return and you realize, hey, we're not going into the playoffs this year. We're not there yet, but realistically, I think we're getting fairly close to it. So, Brandon, thank you so much again for the email, and thanks for listening and for your kind words. And hopefully we don't get to that point anytime soon, but the way they played that last game against Seattle, it feels like it is just around the corner. We've got more to get to on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We've got our Islanders birthday of the day and some more closing thoughts. All that and more still to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues its march through the playoffs right to the big game in a couple of weeks, well, 1 week now. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live, real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, time for our Islanders birthday of the day. And we yesterday, Sunday, 41st birthday of former Islanders winger Andy Hilbert, the Howell, Michigan native drafted in the second round back in 2000 by the Boston Bruins. Spent 2 years at the University of Michigan. Joined the Bruins for 6 games in 2001, 2002, when he made his NHL debut. Then the Blackhawks and Penguins in 2005, 2006 before joining the Isles in 06-07. Spent 3 full seasons with the Islanders Best year statistically, 2008-2009, where he had 11 goals and 27 points in 67 games, then played the next season with the Minnesota Wild and the Houston Astros of the AHL before hanging up his skates. He played in 307 career NHL games, 42 goals, 104 points, 132 penalty minutes, add 1 goal and 2 penalty minutes in 10 NHL playoff games, 5 of those coming with Islanders. We're going to go back and look at one of Andy Hilbert's better games, the Isles, 2008, second game of that 2008-2000 sellout crowd of 16,200 packing the Nassau Coliseum, at the St. Louis Blues providing the opposition. Chris Mason, the goalie for the Blues. Joey McDonald was in between the pipes for the New York Islanders, and it was the Isles getting aboard first. Mike Comrie, his first goal of the season. Richard Park and Kyle Oposo with the helpers at 2:18. Isles up 1-0. Then with Barrett Jackman of St. Louis in the penalty box for interference, Trent Hunter gets his first of the year from Doug Waite at 13:47. Isles 2 and the Blues nothing. Then Sean Bergenheim adds to the Islanders' lead less than a minute and a half later. His first from Andy Hilbert, our Islanders' birthday of the day, and Bruno Gervais at 15:20. Isles quickly up 3-0 in the first period. Then the Blues get on the board. Brad Boyes, who would be an Islander at one point in his career, his second from Paul Correa and Andy McDonald at 17:23, made it 3-1. But late in the period, our Islanders' birthday of the day gets a shorthanded goal. Bill Guerin was in the penalty box for slashing, and Andy Hilbert, his first of the year. Mark Streit and Bruno Gervais with the assist. At the end of the first period, Islanders 4 and the Blues 1. No scoring in the second period, although the Islanders did have 3 power play chances. Keith Tkachuk got the Blues a little closer. His third from Paul Correa and Andy McDonald at 7:47. That was a power play goal. John Sim of the Islanders in the box. But Bill Guerin ices it with an empty net goal, his first of the year, from Doug Waite at 19:11. Final score in this one, the Islanders 5 and the Blues 4. Our Islanders' birthday of the day, Andy Hilbert, 1 goal, 1 assist, +2, 3 shots on goal, and his goal was a shorthanded one. Joey McDonald, 24 saves to earn the win. The Islanders out shooting the Blues in this game. So they did a solid job there, 33-20 shots all. So Andy Hilbert, a good, solid bottom 6 scorer for 3 years in the late 2000s, 41st birthday, and he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Islanders about to head west and take on a 4 games and hang on this road at Vancouver, at Edmonton Friday, at Calgary Saturday, and then back to the East Coast at Buffalo on February 15th. So that 4-game road trip, the Vancouver game on Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time start, and it is on TNT. So we'll have more about that game tomorrow, and we will also talk a little bit more about the second half and what the Islanders need to do. By the way, it's Super Week, brought to you by Get Upside, and there's no better place to get coverage of the big game than the Locked On NFL podcast. Locked On Bengals and Locked On Rams are in LA all week covering the big game. Want to thank everyone once again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets. It's your one-stop shop for all your gambling needs, hosted by your boy Q, with expert insight and analysis by Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And, of course, let's go Islanders.